next, hitting the right note with their hands. We'll meet some artists who are giving old instruments a new chance to make music. Also, the signs of the times. The names have changed, but every political season brings about a new crop of political signs to the Treasure Valley roadsides. You've heard the saying, penny for your thoughts?
Nice car.
I'll have to say it's unique.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Well, we're thinking this is one of the most unusual cars you'll ever see anywhere. And taking a swing at the animals, we take you to a golf course where cow tipping is not only allowed, it's encouraged.
Discover the lighter side of Northwest living as Idaho's News Channel 7 presents The Best of John Miller.
Hello, I'm Mark Johnson. Welcome to The Best of John Miller, our weekly look at the fun and interesting people of the Northwest. First up, imagine working in an office with no computers, no copiers, no fax machines. Add boss to that and you've got something, right? Well, the guys in one small Seattle violin shop wouldn't have it any other way. They represent a dying breed while giving some new life to really old instruments. John takes a look.
This is Rafael Caraba's violin version of Don't Try This at Home. How old's that instrument?
This one's 250 years old.
Like a street value on one of these things might be?
Well, under $100,000.
Under $100,000. And you're just hacking it open.
Right.
Just a day at the office for the guys at Rafael Caraba Violins. Your typical modern day business, except they don't have computers.
No.
Or a copy machine, or cubicles. They do have a telephone.
We just recently got a microwave.
New employees get an apron, a vise, and an ultimate set of violin tools.
Right.
Not that anybody or much of anything is really new around here.
Greg is probably the senior member here.
Building the bows to play the strings on the violin that Duncan built, or David rebuilt, or the cello Thomas is restoring.
This is an old English cello made about 1750. If you were to ask me to hang a curtain rod, I wouldn't have the patience to do that. But I could do this all day long, and I do.
Because there's something soothing about saving an instrument like this that dates back to 1680.
Sharp knives and a good eye, that's basically what you need.
And a good chunk of change if you want to buy a piece of their work.
The minimum that we would sell a violin in our shop starts at $3,000 for a violin, and anywhere up to $400,000.
Really? The only question, who here is the best musician?
I'm not a professional violinist.
More of a failed musician than a musician myself.
I think it's kind of fascinating that none of you guys really think you're very good at...
Yeah, we're not, that's why.
It turns out the best musician of the five guys is the lady out front.
I greet customers, sell things.
Jackie Robbins is also the resident cello tester, keeping things in perfect harmony here at Rafael Caraba Violins.
I feel actually very honored and privileged to be working here.
Where they'll take your application, but don't hold your breath.
I don't think anybody ever retires. In fact, it's traditional to die in the violin shop. Right. In fact, if you feel very ill, you come to the shop. I expect we'll all be here a long time.
I suspect he's right. You know, it was once a national chain of drive-in restaurants, but now it's down to just one last locale. As John shows us, it's a location that's still afloat in the state of Washington.
If this is the first time you've heard of XXX root beer,
grab a seat, guys.
Jose Enciso wants you to know,
no school today, huh?
This is the last place you can get it.
Okay, it's one of a kind root beer. You can't find it nowhere.
Nowhere but here in Issaquah, Washington, where they serve it up in floats so big, Cooley McGuire couldn't even get his hands around it.
I feel like I'm driving something, you know.
It's not just the root beer. It's memorabilia, it's 50s, it's food, it's some big honkin' burgers. It's tough to know where to start in a place like this.
Well, I guess you start by maybe just relaxing.
Observing the rules of the house. Number one,
nothing that you drink here and eat here is good for you.
Number two,
you do not use knives and forks.
You get thrown out, huh?
Yeah, we throw you out.
Number 3, 4, and 5.
Greasy, messy, juicy.
Does this bring you back to your day, back to the old days?
Oh, yeah.
When root beer and the king were king. And people used to drive into drive-ins like this all over the country.
Mr. Rutherford had 79 in the Northwest.
It's just kind of died away over the years.
Yeah.
Except not here.
Except not here.
Where the root beer is still made by Coca-Cola.
It's really good.
A contract the original owner signed in the 30s, having no idea that 70 years later, there would be just one. So Coca-Cola provides root beer for one restaurant.
One restaurant.
Probably not real cost effective for Coca-Cola.
Probably not.
But good for customers who come here from around the country for a trip down memory lane that runs up the walls and across the ceiling, all donated by the XXX faithful. And the place here, it kind of reminds me of a giant garage sale. Where they serve these plates under these plates. And you'll find the original jukebox, hubcaps, taillights, dashboards, and Hooley Maguire still struggling with that root beer float.
I have never had one like this, I tell you.
You're making a mess out of that.
Well, I'm trying to get it under control.
Experience the messiness like back in the 50s. You know, allow yourself to get messy.
Yeah.
You know, don't miss out on the fun.
Messiness of the 50s. Now, Jose says Coca-Cola has the contract to continue making XXX root beer for another 7 years. If that contract is not renewed with Coke, he plans to take the recipe and find someone who will help them continue this wonderful tradition. Now, nearly every fall, street corners and empty lots blossom with vibrant colors, as you know, but it's not a late season bloom of flowers. Those are political signs popping up. You probably got one in your own yard right now. A few years back, John asked for your opinion on the signs of the seasons.
Dirk, Kolb, Lance, Fox, Crapo, Otter, Williams, Chenoweth, Pollock, Sir Hall Simpson, Williams. Again.
Too many.
Way too many. A poor little patch of grass under an overpass, stabbed with the signs of the times. An almost illegible cluster of congresspeople stuck in a sea of senators and such. They're people moving people, when most people wish they were just people moving their signs.
I think they're ridiculous.
An eyesore, they say, at a nearby restaurant.
But it's election time, and so why not?
So should anybody be able to put out a sign?
Well, sure. That's America.
That's sort of what the county highway district says, as long as your campaign poster follows some simple rules of posting and placement. Still,
I'd like to take them all down. It looks trashy.
if you're sick to death of all the signs, remember to cast your vote for coroner.
Well, I think it adds a lot of color to the town. I'm glad they're not permanent.
After all, some of these candidates' political careers will probably last about as long as their political signs. Still,
You might get my vote.
but I certainly hope not. Thank you.
Miller for Idaho. Miller for Idaho. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Yeah, probably not. John tells us every year the signs have to be gone within 2 days after the election. Coming up later, they scurry all over your desk, but thankfully, computer mice don't eat cheese. We'll look at a special anniversary for the MOUSC. And a Boise man puts his artistic skills in gear.
Well, here we go.
Join us as we take a spin in his Pennymobile when the best of John Miller returns. Back in 1997, John found a fella you could say is a real penny pincher. In fact, after meeting Wes Trouncin, you may never ignore another penny on the ground again.
If you offer Wes Trouncin a penny for his thoughts, odds are he'll glue it to his car. What is it about pennies?
Well, you know, they're kind of colorful. I think that makes a difference.
They aren't worth much.
No, they sure aren't.
Until you glue 34,000 on a 1978 Mercury, that's definitely worth a look. And a second, and a third.
You know, Wes, it's quite possible you're going to cause a traffic accident.
Yeah, it could. You know, keep gawking at it, but so far I haven't had any trouble.
Just a lot of questions.
There's 34,000.
34,000?
Yeah.
Does he have any thefts?
Well, if this were gold pieces, I'd worry, but with pennies, I'm not worried at all.
It weighs the car down a little bit.
It figures out at about 200 pounds.
You counted every one of them, huh?
Yeah,
Nice car. I'll have to say it's unique.
It's definitely different.
yeah.
So you got them on the roof, the windows, the wheels, the headlights, wherever.
I think it's good investment. At least makes a conversation piece.
What do you think of Wes's car here?
Well, I think Wes's car is wonderful, but I absolutely...
I think it matches his personality.
Looks like you're going to hold on to it for a while.
Oh, yeah, I'll keep it forever. I mean, the grandchildren can have it. And if they want to go take it to college with them or...
Yeah, and if it breaks down, they can just pay their tuition, huh?
Yeah.
After all, Wes's copper-clad Cougar is worth at least $340. That's 34,000 pennies.
Here we go.
Forever.
This is so cool.
Earning interest.
All right, Wes, well, good luck to you.
Well, here we go.
Keep shining.
Okay, will do.
Well, the grandkids do indeed have Wes Trounson's car. He died in February of 2002. He was 85. Besides crafting his penny car, Wes also served as an Idaho state senator. Still to come, grazing on the greens. We'll travel to Caldwell to play around on a golf course where the hazards are moving. Get it? And next, John racked his brain to try to find a perfect fall story. And in the process, he met up with a man who could leave you touched with his story. Fall is the time of year when you can certainly see why they call Boise the city of trees, knowing it won't be long before those colorful leaves leave for good. John grabbed his camera hoping to capture the colors, and of course he found a whole different perspective than he planned on.
I set out to photograph the fall colors, hoping to find an artist or a poet to lend a little credence to the usual, wow, gee whiz, look at those colors story. But after a couple hours of seagulls and squirrels and drawing dangerously close to deadline without an identifiable artist or poet in sight, I decided to settle on this guy.
I'm putting all my faith in him. Can I ask you your name?
Walter.
Walter. What's your last name, Walter?
Does it make any difference?
No.
Especially considering I had basically ambushed poor Walter out in the middle of a perfectly good walk without any reasonable explanation.
Would you consider yourself a very philosophical guy?
No, not at all.
Like I was saying, I was kind of looking for a photographer, an artist, or a poet or something like that.
No, I'm not an artist, a poet, or a photographer. I'm just retired.
And in a hurry to get back to his car and out of my ambush, which left me about 2 minutes and 14 seconds to get to the root of Walter and whatever I was trying to talk about.
So this is a pretty good time of year around here, huh?
Every day is a good time of year for me.
And that's when Walter told me his story.
No, I got no story. I got sick, I got cancer. They took care of it. And I'm just enjoying every day. I got a different outlook, that's all.
You weren't supposed to live through this, you told me.
That's what they told me. But I did.
These colors, you enjoy them a little more now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Walter explained that now the little things don't matter so much. Maybe the fall colors matter a little more.
That's right. It's really beautiful.
All right, anything else you want to add?
No, that's about it.
Just enjoy it, huh?
Yeah, have a good one.
All right.
I hope you find some artists or whatever. Or poets.
That's okay, Walter. I think I already did.
Just ahead, they're losing their tails and some are looking a little less mouse-like. John shows us the changing face of the computer mouse. That's after we take aim at one unique golf course, from birdie to bovine, when the best of John Miller returns. We are back in nothing better than a golf story. You know, somewhere in the state of Idaho, they're playing golf all year round. And John knows where to find a golf story. Miniature golf, the real thing, played out on a driving range in Caldwell. There, golfers shoot not only for birdies, but for bovines. Moo. John takes a look.
For Erlene Pickrell and the folks at Farm City, there's a fine line between home on the range and home on the driving range.
That's right.
And if you love golf,
Uh-huh.
farming doesn't allow for a lot of that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the compromise?
Yeah.
Well, most people shoot at a hole with a flag.
That's right.
But not here.
But it's more fun with the animals.
Now, I'm no expert, but thanks to the magic of editing, we can show you exactly why there are so many dead wooden cows around here.
So one goes down, another one pops right up.
That's right. When one loses a leg, we just put another one out there.
Which, after all, is the whole idea.
Right.
Darwin Simmons knows very little about golf and even less about cows.
Well, of course, back when I was young, I milked a lot of cows. But,
So now you just knock them over.
Now I'm hitting at them.
It's kind of like golfing at Green Acres, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's
What
exactly what it's like.
Except here, the cows and pigs are missing tails and snouts thanks to guys like Shane Irwin.
What are you shooting for, chickens or pigs?
I'm going for the pigs right now.
Yeah, the pig.
I want to hit a pig.
So anything else I should know about the cows and the chickens and the pig and the geese?
Well, if you want to be down on the farm, just come out and see us.
And take your best shot.
That's right.
John Miller with his golfing shoe boots. How about that? Now, on the same line, talking about sports, as much as we'd love to have Bogus Basin open all year round, there's at least one guy who enjoys it even while it's closed. He's happy to trade a snowboard for a skateboard and a hobby that we can hardly recommend. John Miller has the daredevil of details, Bill Zuhl's downhill adventures.
There's 15 miles of road up to that ski hill, almost no cars, and on some days, 45-year-old Bill Zuhl.
I walk the hill to kick all the rocks out and kind of at least look at it, make sure there's no potholes or something I don't know about.
Because if there's one thing he does know about, it's a $2 piece of plywood nailed to 4 wheels. And some gravity.
And plenty of gravity.
Something of a new age Lone Ranger. Left his friends behind about 20 years ago.
They've sold most of their equipment.
So now it's just kind of become your hobby.
It's a hobby, yeah. Just something to keep your balance.
So what do people say when they're driving up and you're flying by?
They give kind of a look, you know.
Yeah.
They wonder what I'm doing. You can go 30, 40, and almost 50.
And the only thing funnier than a 45-year-old man flying south on a skateboard is a 45-year-old man trying to stop.
Oh, jeez.
Well, if you don't have a shuttle driver or a group of people, you gotta walk.
And you have to wonder about a guy like Bill Zuhl, still blazing his own trail. Why?
Why? That's a good question.
Why not?
Why not?
Bill needs taillights. He says he used to actually race his friends down the hill back in the 70s. Most of those guys have long since sold their boards. Mice don't just come in gray anymore. Next, John celebrates the anniversary of the computer mouse with a look at the selection available these days when we come back. Hey, next time you log onto your computer, be sure to give a special birthday click to that little mouse. The desktop doohickey has been pointing the way for some 35 years. John has a tribute to that most valuable computer tool, always close at hand.
Go in the mouse section of a computer store, appropriately labeled mice, and it's easy to see we've been infested.
It's the remote control for the
Right.
computer generation.
And Sam Swenson is the head mouseketeer for the computer store.
Mouseketeer.
Yeah. Nobody ever calls you that, do they?
No.
But they do by his mice. Why?
Form and function.
And because experts have determined this type of mouse works far better than this type of mouse and this type of mouse.
That's my college mouse there.
That's
What's
wonderful.
that worth these days?
Nothing.
Because these days,
You've got Barbie mouse in a box.
the TrackMan marble effects, all developed since the idea clicked with an inventor 30 years ago. So began the evolution of the mouse, the reinvention of the wheel, and like the car, it's become more streamlined, loaded with options, even turbocharged, and now...
Some of these things look more like a duck. Like get on your computer and use your duck.
Quack. Computer foul.
And remember, computer mice don't mix with power cats.
The possibilities are endless. But I mean, if you find this in like your office, I mean, this is for kind of the office Star Wars dork, right?
Exactly. I've got all three.
Oops. Sorry.
He's even got the crystal ball, and if it could foretell the future of mice...
Well, I think we're going to keep being overrun by them.
Until perhaps a computer mouse mutiny. But take it from a one-mouse man.
All you really need That's all you
That's
need
right
there.
You need that.
That's all you ever needed right there.
That'll do it. We'll see you next time for more of the best of John Miller.